Yes! What is up, everybody? We have a podcast to get into, so hit like and subscribe because we're talking U.S. men's national team versus Colombia. Hi, hello, and welcome to your favorite average to good podcast. Call it what you want. I'm Jimmy Conrad alongside Charlie Davies and Tony Meola, and we are going to talk about a below average to bad performance by the U.S. men's national team and their 5-1 loss to Colombia. We're going to get into all facets of it. We can break down players. We can talk about the coaching staff, decisions that were made both on and off the fields. But first, we actually don't have a word of the day for Call It What You Want here. We are going to talk about TST because Big Tones, Tony Meola was the coach of Concacaf, Pat McAfee's team with our very own Mike Grella as well. And Big Tones, you got to the quarterfinals. My team lost in the round of 32, but tell me about your experience.
Hell of a run.
Yeah, it was good. It was interesting. Anyone who followed my team knows that we probably weren't the team that like every parent wanted their daughter to marry. Like that wasn't our group. But yeah, look, it was fun. You told me about it. Yeah, you told me about it a couple months ago, and you're like, dude, you got to be part of this. You have to do this. And I was kind of reluctant, you know, and I didn't know what to expect. And I told my wife last night, I'm like, I'm so happy I came and did this. It was so much fun. Pat McAfee, of course, people know him and what kind of that brings. And the group kind of was a reflection of him. So it was great. I look forward to doing it again next year, man. And hopefully we'll get to play you guys next year.
Wait, so
now that I know what the game looks like.
Yeah,
was the experience that incredible that you are already looking forward to next year? Like, I know, Jimmy, you did it back to back. Was this year better than last year? And is this something where I'm like, you would highly recommend it, so much so?
Chuck, what are you waiting for?
You got to do it, Charlie.
Basically, you need to get me back.
You got to do it, man.
Yeah, you got to do it. I had a team. Listen, there was 48 teams in this competition, and after the group stages, my team was first. We had the best goal difference. We won all 3 games, and the scheduling wasn't our best friend because we had a big weather delay, and after the group stages, we didn't get home and have team dinner till 1:30 a.m. and then we had to play pretty early, 6 p.m. the next day, but we were wiped out. And that didn't help us. But I had a team that I thought could make a deep run. We got Sebastian Jovinko, who scored 6 goals. Dwayne De Rosario scored some big goals. And man, it's the fine margins, as you know, Tony, right?
Was Jovinko better than you thought he'd be for this?
He's such a good – I love that guy. I didn't know much about him coming in, and he could have come in with a lot of, attitude or arrogance, but none of that. He came in by himself, was there the first day, trained hard every single time, was a great teammate. And what I love is that he wants to come back and play again next year. So
wow,
so that kind of that answers your question a little bit. And we're like, hey, maybe you can recruit some of your friends. Maybe some of your friends want to come over and play as well. So it was a great experience. And obviously, my team, Quick Goal FC, we you take some learnings from it, and you hope that we can do better next year. But I'm excited to get back there as well. But it's a fun tournament, and I wish the last 4 teams the very best today and tomorrow.
I was talking about it with Clint a little bit and saying, maybe we should get out there and get going again. Like,
I called Clint and said, dude, you want to play this year? And he was reluctant because I don't think he had the best experience. I think he was doing a lot more managing and coaching last time than just playing. And I think if you just out there as a player, I think he'd feel a lot different about it. But
yeah, I agree.
I would have loved to have played, but obviously I'm a little bit older than you guys, so it would have made it difficult. But every guy, I had Breck Shea, Jeff Cameron, Mike Grella was with me, and they all kind of, you go there and you're like, well, I just don't want to get hurt. Don't want to get hurt. Don't want to make a fool of myself. Then all of a sudden, that the juices get flowing and you compete. I mean, it's what you do. You don't, when you're on a soccer field, you have no other gear. Like you guys, I mean, I saw you play, Jimmy, and like, you don't have another gear when you get out there. When you step aside, you're a different person. But when you get in, even though you don't, we understand that we don't move and we don't get it done the same way. Like, we get it, but you still want to win. I mean, that's what you're there to do. And then you get in those games, and Charlie, the one thing that's amazing to me about you're never out of the game. You could be down 3-0, and at the end of the game, there's a target score, which means that the target score is 1 more than the team that's leading. So the other team still has a chance to come back and score 4 goals in target time and win the game. And then they take players off the field, and then it's like it's so much
chaos.
fun.
It's chaos.
If you'd be crazy if you don't do it next year. Either you play or you coach, or you're part of a team. It is so much fun.
Yeah, Chuck, you got to get in. And if
All
you're
right.
looking for a team, I'm going to put my name in because I'd love to have you on the squad. Imagine you, Dwayne De Rosario, and Jovinko all pulling the strings up top would be pretty sick.
1v1 merchants.
Charlie,
exactly right.
Charlie,
Exactly right.
I just want to tell you, our team gets paid to play. You go, Jimmy, and you can have the nice uniform and all that stuff.
Listen.
Throw
That might change in the future. We understand that the market's changing. So
it might, Charlie. It might change, but
here we go.
You make a choice.
I hear you loud and clear, Tony.
Okay, I understand what's happening here. All right, TST, they got the semifinals today, and then the big final for $1 million happening on Monday. You can check that out on ESPN+. Okay, let's get into this game happening yesterday, our first friendly ahead of Copa America in D.C., the nation's capital, and we took on Colombia, who are red hot, 21 games unbeaten coming into this one, and we were down 2-0 after 20 minutes. So not a great start, and what's interesting, before we really get into it, is that this was the first time in U.S. men's national team history that all of the players that started were from the top 5 leagues in Europe, which I feel like there's some irony there because that's a lineup that a lot of fans are clamoring for. And that's what we've been trying to aim for, right? That we're evolving as a national team. We're trying to get all of our players playing at the highest level possible. We achieve that to some degree. And obviously we're going to keep trying to push through that glass ceiling, and we get them all starting against a very good team, and we get absolutely slapped.
Absolutely punished, bamboozled, and that stat couldn't mean more dog-ish than one of the worst stats I've heard in a long time, because that means absolutely nil. Oh, we got all our starting lineup in the top 5 leagues. Who gives a rat's
I get it. You still got to go out and perform. I know.
Are you kidding me?
I'm just saying it's ironic
You know what pisses me off the most?
Oh, here we go. Go ahead, Chuck.
All right, I'm going in. Here we go.
Here he goes.
So I obviously had a Revolution game, so I couldn't really pay attention to the game live and see everything that happened. So I'm hearing word of mouth. I'm trying to block everything out. I don't want to take anyone's comments before I see the game, right? I don't want it to sway me. So I get home to late game. I had to watch, a tough game to watch, but the Revs got the 1-0 win. I'm home and I watched the match. And it was probably worse than what people had told me initially.
Did you get a drink after the first 20 minutes? Did you pour yourself an adult beverage?
It was so painful to watch. And you're just thinking about what ideas, how is this group moving forward? We saw World Cup qualifying, the ups and downs. We saw a World Cup in the group stages and the knockout round. Show me now how this group is going to move forward. Because that's one thing to get to a World Cup and you say, okay, young group, inexperience. All those excuses of a young team, no experience, out the window. You're playing Colombia. Now, Colombia, yes, they're good as hell, but they're not France. They're not England. Right? They're a really good team. They're a strong team.
I think they could beat England right now, to be honest.
I don't think so. Not when England's playing at their best. But regardless, this showing was so telling of where we are realistically. When you're talking about top 20 teams in the world, we are so far off it. So far off it, because it's not about how many passes did we connect? How much possession did we have? If you're looking at the actual stats of the game, it's like, oh, the US had possession, 52-40. No, it's not about that. It's in the international game. It's when you get those opportunities, how you get those opportunities, you finish. That's the world-class players that you're seeing in international football. It's about how you make the most of the turnovers that you force in the transition game. Because if you told me Luis Diaz only had 30 touches, you'd say, oh, he probably had a tough time. No, he didn't. Colombia said, okay, you guys want to have the ball when you have it, but when we have it, we're gonna make you suffer. We're gonna make you pay. We're gonna go right to goal. We're gonna be cutthroat. And that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened.
Okay, let's take a look at the starting 11. And Big Tones, I think what's interesting for me, okay, we got Matt Turner in goal, Anthony Robinson on the left, Tim Ream, Chris Richards, Joe Scally. make the back four. Reyna Cardoso gets to start over Tyler Adams, clearly managing his minutes, as was mentioned by Tyler before the game. Weston McKinney's the third midfielder there with a 4-3-3. Pulisic, Balogun up top, and Timo Weah on the right. Let's just start from the back. You are a resident goalkeeper, played in multiple World Cups, and Matt Turner didn't look sharp. Probably could have done better on a few of the 5 goals. Let's just start with his performance. Where were you on that? Can Big Tones hear us? I don't know.
Okay, so
okay.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, it was
you
just a
can do
delay.
better on the second goal. There's no doubt about it. Yeah, no, I can. You got me. You got me.
Yeah.
I got you
we got
guys.
you. We got you.
Yeah, we got you.
You got me.
Yeah.
I'm listening. I'm listening to Charlie, and okay, we could talk about each goal, and yeah, can Matt Turner do better on the second goal? All of that stuff. I think Jimmy and Charlie, this is there's such a bigger picture here to look at, and Charlie, you kind of touched on it. Where have we advanced since the Netherlands game? And we keep saying this, and I get it. We're 11 players from the top 5 leagues. I'm at the point right now, I don't care about the individuals we have. I want a better team.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I want, a better team. Like, if it's not the names, then it's got to be somebody else, or it's got to be Greg that makes changes, or Greg has to be changed, or something has to change, because we've said time and time again that we need to see improvement almost camp after camp. Now, it's not the loss for me that is big, because when I look, I pulled up Colombia's schedule. We keep talking about the U.S. schedule: Spain, France, Germany, Brazil. I mean, you look at the forget South American qualifying. I mean, they play teams, top-notch teams all the time. So when they get to a moment like this, they're not really in awe. They're good players. I feel like we've gone through this exercise with Mexico, with Panama, with Jamaica, Canada, and this is where it comes to bite you in the backside. So these games are vitally important if we're going to be ready for Copa America. Right now, is there anything to lead you to believe that this team is ready to compete in Copa America in a couple days?
No, it's a great question.
Me, the answer is no.
No.
Yeah, no. Yes.
Where was the intensity in the game? The passing. I want to see tempo. You're talking about heading into Copa America. Where was the tempo? Where was the? I know it's not an official game, but smacking guys. Where was the toughness? Where was the grit? Where was the players being cutthroat? It looked so predictable and boring. That's what I was shocked about. It looked so predictable and boring. In that first half, how many times it would just go down the left, Anthony Robinson, Christian Pulisic, this is where we're going. Every single time, there was no creativity. Looking at players, trying to get them isolated 1v1, switching the point of attack, playing, if you're going to sit in the mid block, then invite them in, play 1-2s, get into the attacking third, create some more chances, take some more shots. There was nothing of it. So that's what frustrates me the most. And I get it. I've been here before. When we put on our boots and we're playing in a friendly ahead of a competition, is it the same? No. But your damn best bet that the mindset has to be set, the mentality has to be set going into it to say, hey, we're making a statement heading into Copa America. We're a force to be reckoned with. We're going to show that we've come a long way from that Netherlands match that you referred to, Tony.
Yeah, what I'd say too is that this team might have a reputation, or is building a reputation of being soft, and not only soft in our performance, as you guys are mentioning, of having that grit, doing the little things that are going to make it difficult for an opponent, but also in our reactions, right? Where I thought we were soft, like, there wasn't. Where's the fight from that? One of the good sequences that I saw, and this kind of speaks to it too, where it felt like we were just playing from one player to the next player we weren't skipping anybody. But I remember Chris Richards hit a really nice pass out to Anthony Robinson in the first half, and he ended up creating something on that left side, because that's where the space was. There was an identification, there was a quickness to the play and to the ideas, to recognizing what Colombia was giving us, and then we punished them for that. And we ended up getting a good opportunity, or at least getting into the final third in a meaningful way with some numbers in the box. And that's what you're really aiming to do, is can we create those numerical advantages and then put ourselves in a good position to hopefully have a good chance. And that was one of the few things. Another thing I want to note is that Balogun had a shot on goal maybe 30 seconds into the game. And I don't know if the dude touched it for the next 30 minutes. I remember watching it and like 30. I'm like, oh yeah, Balogun touched it again. He might have touched it in between, but it wasn't something that I noted. And so that, again, is a problem for us. How do we bring the number 9 in? At this point, if I'm playing against us, you're like, just shut down the wings. That's what the Netherlands did in the round of 16 of the World Cup. They just took away our wing play, tried to stack us up there, knowing that we don't really like to play through the middle all that much. But the goal
and then you had Jesus Ferreira checking to the defensive center mid to get the ball on the ball. You had no threat.
The guy just wanted to, he just wanted to get a touch.
You look at Balogun. Balogun had 17 touches in 72 minutes. 17. Yeah. He's not a striker that can just sit up there and not be involved in the play.
I get it.
He's not Erling Haaland.
Right.
He needs to get on the ball. He needs to, and 17 touches. That's just not it. You got to figure out a way.
No, 100%.
Yeah.
But
so Jimmy, you
go ahead, Tones. Go ahead.
No, I'm just listening to you talk, and part of it, you answered what I was thinking just by saying, I remember this one sequence when, and I'm like, that's part of the problem. Like, you remember one sequence. Like, I want to remember like the flow of the game, and hey, we were attacking down the right-hand side and we were punishing them time and time again, or we were playing balls over the top and we were punishing them time and time again, or we found so much space in the midfield. And then we're sitting here going, you remember this one time, right? Remember the one chance that our forward had? Remember this moment? Like, if you're a Colombian fan right now, think about your conversation. Remember the flow we had in the middle of the field and how we were able to get into the final third really fairly easy, right? How we turned the ball over so easily with maybe not even a full press, but just kind of hanging out. And all of a sudden you see a bad pass and you pick it off and you go. Like, there was a rhythm to Colombia that you can, when you go to these coaching schools, they tell you there's really nothing in a play until you see it in a rhythm, until you see it 5, 6, 7, 8 times.
Right.
And then you can go, okay, well, this team is playing over the top, or this team wants to play wide and swing crosses in. Like, give me one thing that happened 5, 6, 7 times. I can't think of one.
Oh,
and that's where I see the problem.
Well, you know, it's even more of a concern.
Yeah. It would.
It is that the simple fact that when the game was 2-1 and you felt, okay, maybe there's a chance they can get back in this game and the momentum, will swing in the US's direction and they'll start putting the pressure, they'll play higher up the field. And it was a great pass from Balogun to Weah, a good run from Weah just to initiate that whole sequence. But the substitutes, the changes, the drop-off, you would expect the substitutes to come on with this crazy enraged energy, a little bit pissed off because they're not in the first team, right? When you're talking about Haji Wright, who I think he didn't really hurt himself necessarily. There were some good moments in terms of just trying to offer something, but Cameron Carter-Vickers, Malik Tillman, Musa, Tepe, De La Torre, I got a 0 from. A 0 in terms of effort, in terms of effectiveness,
just sharpness,
sharp. Yeah. And so that, for me, the depth, we talked about depth with this team. I didn't see it. Maybe it's depth when you're talking about Jamaica and Canada and Mexico. We have depth. We don't have depth when you're talking about Colombia. When you're talking about Brazil and the Uruguay, we don't have depth. So that's when I was like, damn, we got to change something up here.
Well, what I thought was interesting was where we got the first goal. I mean, Timo Weah actually comes inside and comes central, and that creates a little bit of unpredictability from a Colombia perspective. Like, that hadn't happened yet, or didn't happen consistently, to your point, Tones, about finding that rhythm. And all of a sudden, that allows Balogun to find a different type of pocket of space. Timo can now run from inside to out, and obviously that's a good goal. But we didn't see that a lot, and maybe those rotations from inside or from outside to in need to happen a little bit more because our attack is becoming so predictable. So Yeah, there's a lot to break down here, of course. And I put out a tweet after the game saying it's better to have a wake-up call before a tournament than during, right? The sky's going to be falling in the middle of a tournament. And obviously that led to about 3,000 replies saying Berhalter out. And do you love this one, Chuck? Because Tones, this is like before you were on here pretty regularly, that I had Berhalter's back and I wanted him to get rehired. That's some of the comments I was getting. I'm like, what the hell are these people talking? Do your goddamn homework. I've been saying from the very beginning, no coach should have the job for more than 4 years, a World Cup cycle. That they need to hear a new voice. They need to hear different ideas and thoughts. And now when I hear what you guys are saying, we look predictable. We haven't grown since the round of 16. We're stale. We don't have any energy like that. That's all things that I think that a new coach could have. No, the grass.
I'll also add the
grass maybe not greener, right?
Right. The comfortability from each player. It's
right.
Like I've settled in. I got the trust of the coach. It's not I got to prove myself again, right? And keeping guys fresh. And then maybe there's new faces too that come in. There's also that component when you have a new coach every 4 cycles, it keeps guys motivated, right? It's not that, I'm a little comfortable. I know I'm going to play, or I know that the coach likes me, so I'm going to be in the squad,
So one thing I'll add here, and then we can get to our first break. And Tones, actually, I want to hear from you before we get to our first break. But the one thing I'm going to add is, I just want to say this first, Tones. I wonder when we were doing our coaching search, if there were the top coaches that we were looking at, maybe we're interested in the job, but didn't want the job 4 years out. Right? They wanted to get the job maybe closer to the start of the World Cup. So I wonder if there is maybe something after the Copa America, maybe later in the year when those top coaches might be a little bit more interested, saying, hey, I'll take it 18 months out, or I'll take it a year out, and then I'll lead your country. This is yes, Copa America is one thing, but the World Cup, this is the biggest deal. And I listen, I don't think Greg Berhalter should have had the job in the first place. I'm going to raise my hand and say that again, because it's clear that people are having selective memory here. But I wonder if there's going to be a change at some point, because we have to have a change for a number of different reasons. But go ahead, Big Tones.
Yeah, look, I just don't like that our team is comfortable, and we can sit here and talk about how it looks comfortable. I feel like we're in a moment where, like, excuse me, if the ball goes here, we have to go here. And if the ball goes here, we have to go here. And then I look at other teams, and I'll use Colombia because they're pretty much a free-flowing team, especially with James. I feel like we're lacking sort of soccer IQ, if you will, when it comes to making adjustments. It's like, this is what it looks like on the board, and let's do it. And the best players in the world don't do that, right? There's a formation, and there's some ideas, and this is how we want to attack, but you got to figure it out. We were thinking yesterday, and we've been thinking for quite some time. And let's face it, we were in Arlington, Dallas for Nations League. We were an own goal away from this thing completely blowing up against Jamaica. Excuse me. This is my TST voice, by the way, coming in, screaming on the side. So when I look at this group, I don't know what they have to find the button to push that lets them believe that they can be a little bit more creative, because we all have heard it and seen it weekly basis with their club teams. They look completely different than they do here. Greg Berhalter, this is his job now to get this team to play better. If not, we have to make a move because this is not a way to go into Copa America. I never thought, I'll end with this, Jimmy. I was never of the idea or notion that Copa America would be this important for Greg Berhalter and his job. I always thought leading into this, there's no way they're going to get rid of Greg Berhalter after Copa America. I think that a poor Copa America could mean trouble for Greg Berhalter.
Yeah, and I'm going to get your thoughts on that.
Could mean or should mean both.
For me,
well, Charlie, I'm glad you said that. If we're a real soccer nation, it should be life and death for his job at Copa America if we have a really poor performance. I mean, we don't seem to operate that way.
This is Matt Crocker's real opportunity to see the situation as a whole and say, hold on, This is where we were going. This is where we thought the team was going. I walked into it. I gave the opportunity. I gave him the benefit of the doubt, given that the players wanted Greg back, right? This is the main reason why Greg's in the position he's in. The players said, we want him back. Well, this is the proof. How far have you come? What are the ideas? If we keep seeing 5-1, 4-0, 3-0, and getting smacked.
We're kind of rehashing some of our previous thoughts, but I believe we've hit a ceiling with Greg Berhalter, and that's been on display for quite some time. And yesterday didn't help his cause. All right, we're going to take our first break and call it what you want. When we come back, we're going to hear from Mr. Greg Berhalter, so don't go anywhere.
Have you heard of semaglutides? Ozempic, Mounjaro?
Hartman, this could be dangerous. Let's do it.
South Park, The End of Obesity. New exclusive event, now streaming exclusively on Paramount Plus.
Really disappointed, obviously, with the result. We're not framing it as a lesson learned. We're actually framing it as a wake-up call. Really poor performance against a top team. And I think if you give a team like that the opportunities that we gave them, you're going to have no chance to win. It's never going to happen. And, that's what's really disappointing about the game. I think the first half, you look at the 2 goals, maybe they had 2.5 chances in the first half, scored 2 goals. And then, from the 75th minute on, it was, I think, a lack of respect for our opponent, the game of soccer, what we were doing. And, I think the sad thing is it overshadows, how we got back into the game, how we were aggressive, how we had them on their heels, and they were struggling for a moment when it was 2-1, and we weren't able to capitalize on it. And then the game went to pieces late in the match. So, wake up call for us. We express that to the group, and we move forward, and we play Brazil on Wednesday.
Right, hearing from U.S. Men's National Team coach Greg Berhalter there. Clearly read my tweet about wake up call, so I appreciate him following me on Twitter as well. So interesting stat. Greg Berhalter's record versus CONCACAF opponents: 34 wins, 5 losses, 8 draws. That could be the other way. I might be reading that wrong. But Berhalter's record versus non-CONCACAF opponents: 8 wins, 7 losses, 7 draws.
Now,
so
top 20.
Top 20. That doesn't include Mexico. I believe he only has 1 win, and that was against Iran in the last group stage game in the 2022 World Cup. Everybody else been taking L's or D's, the draws. So yeah, not a good look in terms of the top 20, all things considered. We get his thoughts there. They're big tones. I mean, there's nothing he said there that was revolutionary or not surprising, but yeah, I think he's right in some ways with regard to a lack of respect for the opponent and just this casualness for our subs. And Charlie touched upon it before with regard to having those guys come on and be, I know that everybody's trying to change the word of sub to game changer. Well, they were definitely not game changers, or they were actually, but it was in the wrong direction in some ways. And that obviously is going to give us pause. I guess I want to say this because we've kind of gotten into kind of the overall performance. Were you surprised that we didn't try maybe something a little bit different formation-wise? We've been clamoring for a 3-5-2 a little bit here on the show, or I have in particular. I thought that would get a bit of good exercise. When I saw Cameron Carter-Vickers get ready to come on, I was like, sweet, we're going to try it. You got Tim Ream, you got Carter-Vickers, you got Chris Richards. You can take Scally off, and you can bring Timo Weah out wide right, but Anthony Robinson a little bit higher. We're losing anyway, so why not try it here? We didn't do that, and I feel like
now we're not going to do it at all because you can't afford to do a new system after you just got spanked 5-1 by Colombia and risk getting another spanking from Brazil, trying a new system and go, we go back to square. It's not that big
of a difference of a system, though, Chuck. That's my thing. Like you have, if we really value the IQ of our players,
it's a new starting position for a lot of these guys, and you have to play differently if you have wingbacks.
Sure.
That's just the nature of it. When you play,
I don't think you take it that hard. If they're as good of players as we think they are, then they should be able to adapt to a different system.
But then you should have run it out, right? There should be no issue with saying, you know what?
I agree.
For the first time, we got 3 center backs who are playing, even though Cameron Carter-Vickers didn't have a good match. So we can put that into perspective.
Yeah, sure.
But Tim Ream, Chris Richards, and Cameron Carter-Vickers. Okay, let's run them out as a 3 center backs. They're all playing. at least Tim Ream was, and you say, here we go. But you can't tell me that now, after this loss, you're going to roll out a new system against Brazil. It's just not, that's not going to happen.
Can we keep going like this?
I know, but you both know that's not going to happen.
Jimmy, I'm with you. I've been clamoring for 3 in the back with wing backs since the Netherlands match. Anyone that's listened to me on the radio for years, they're so tired of hearing me say it, right? But Charlie, Anthony Robinson has played as a wing back. Timothy Weah has played as a wing back. Joe Scally has played as a wing back.
Weston McKennie
Chris
played
Richards
as a wing back.
has played with 3 in the back. Like, I mean, seriously, the reason we don't play with in this system for me is because when everybody's healthy, one of Tyler, Weston, or Yunus Musa has to be sacrificed in the middle of the field. And I don't think he wants to do that. That's the reason I don't think we play. If you remember when he got the job again the second time, he said in one of those early interviews, we were going to see 3 in the back. And when I say he, Greg, of course. Right. Greg said we were going to see at some point 3 in the back. I don't think we've seen it once, not even at the end of the game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it. How hard is it to if you're going to try it? Hell, yesterday was a pretty good moment to say what I'm doing is not working. Let me put the guy. You know what? Think about it. If he just went in halftime and said, "Okay, guys, we're going second half 3 in the back," don't you think, even if you didn't work on it, everyone would all of a sudden be on high alert? Like, holy cow, man, 3 in the back. Okay, what do I got to do? Okay, I'm a wing back. I got to do this. I'm a 3 backs. I got you'd have been like scrambling in your. At least you would have changed something up.
Right.
But you know the definition of insanity, and we didn't change anything yesterday.
No, we didn't. I'm actually going back to, and I'm trying to find this lineup really quick. Maybe people in the YouTube comments or our producers can help here. Did we play 3 in the back against Mexico in the First Nations League final in Denver?
We did.
We did, right? And Mark McKenzie made a mistake early, and I think that
he gave it to Tecatito, and Tecatito took it off him, scored, and then.
And I actually thought McKenzie was pretty good the rest of the game, but he had that one mistake, and that's the stuff that people remember. And I remember Tim Ream got beat, right? Because they got cut in on him, and he just got isolated in a way that maybe in a back 4 he wouldn't have been in the same way. And I think these are the couple moments where we give up some goals, and then we completely throw it out. It can't work, but maybe it can if we continue to suck.
Well, you have to look at the personnel that you had. Do you remember who was playing alongside Tim Ream?
I'm trying to get up that.
I'll give you a hint. He plays in Germany, and he has not touched the field for Greg.
John Anthony Brooks.
Yeah. So if you're playing Tim Ream and John Anthony Brooks, who are not fleet of foot, right, and you're playing a high line against a Mexican side at that time that was a much different looking Mexican side with Chucky Lozano and Tecatito and Diego Lainez, who were confident this was, a Mexican side that was much more advanced than they are now. That's like night and day what we're seeing. And they got torched for pace, so they had to sit back in low blocks.
Right.
And remember, and it was like, oh,
yeah,
you're just hoping. And then set pieces was our big advantage on set pieces. Weston McKennie was great in the air. Gio Reyna scored off a corner, came down. So, I mean, that's
I remember. I got. This lineup isn't right that I'm seeing online, but the players are right. Serginho Dest was playing on the left side. I remember he kept running into Christian Pulisic. So that would be the one area as we transition from the back to the front of if we have like Anthony Robinson and Christian trying to occupy the same channel out wide, how do they coexist in that space? It feels like Christian's become a lot more comfortable cutting inside or setting up shop inside and allowing Anthony to do that. But Dest started on the left side that game, which probably wasn't going to help the back 3. And then Yedlin was on the right side. And then Kellen Acosta was sitting in the middle in front of that back 3 as well. So, yeah, and Weston McKennie were also the other midfielder. I wonder if that I just bring that game up because I wonder if there was enough there from a negative perspective that just Greg kind of I'm never going back to that.
I think so. Yes. Yeah. To answer your question, yes, I think so. But that we're talking about apples and oranges at that point. That was a squad that was hodgepodge. You had Jackson Rule starting in midfield in the semifinal against Honduras, which was also a not a great match from the U.S. They struggled. They were lucky to win that game 1-0.
Yeah, I remember.
You remember P-Folk scored in the 90th minute or so. You know,
Right.
I mean, they still got the job done because they won the Nations League. But that if I'm looking at that lineup, the team
June
is so
6th,
different from
June
where it is
6th,
now.
2021. So it's been 3 years now since we've tried a back three.
Mhm.
I don't know. I just feel like our personnel's different. I think our players are
What
a little bit older now.
What did you make of, like, all right, we'll start with Matt Turner, because I thought his distribution was really poor yesterday. It's one thing to say, man, you know, you're going to be pinging just long balls, whatever, but he just didn't look comfortable or confident, and he was making, you know, poor touches, poor passes. It showed that he hasn't played at all. This is the first time I said, wow, this is really showing what happens to a keeper who is not playing every week.
Well, we can argue that about Tim Ream as well, right? Tim Ream hadn't been playing a lot either. And
Yeah.
I don't think he looks sharp either. So, Tones?
Yeah, look, he how can you be sharp? And again, I'm going to go back to that Netherlands game, because I said right after the game, leading into 2026, we need to have players that are playing full-time at their clubs. Matt Turner, it's going to continue to show and show and show. It's going to be 1% less and then 1% less, and then we keep going in that direction until he's playing week in and week out. Tim Ream, you can see he hasn't played. The surprising one was Cameron Carter-Vickers, right? This is a guy that's had incredible success. Was player of the year at Celtic last year, in success this year. He looked completely out of it. So I'm concerned to the point where, in just listening to you two guys say that this is the, you know, that three in the back a couple of years ago was maybe the breaking point. We shouldn't be at the breaking point of trying something with this team right now, because what we're seeing right now just isn't working, man. I'm sorry, it's not working. It's not fun to watch. It's not entertaining. It doesn't leave me. And again, I'm going to say this, result aside, scoreline aside, I don't leave this going, yeah, I feel good about where we're going. I feel good about the direction we're going. I feel good about we're going to be ready for Copa America. We're going to compete, because forget 2026. If you're playing in Copa America, you better be there to try and win the tournament. Now, this thing can all turn around, and we know that. But I don't have anything in what I saw yesterday to lead me to believe that it's going to turn around. Now, it's Greg's job, and it's the players' job now to figure this thing out. And they've got to give us some hope against Brazil that this thing is going to look different when Copa America starts. And again, I'm just not seeing it, but it's not seeing it from this camp. I'm not seeing it. Well, guys, face it. We struggled against Jamaica at home. We were all there. We struggled we struggled in that game. Okay, Mexico was a little bit different. We played well. You survived. Now you have a different energy. And it's Mexico. It's our biggest rival. It's a final. So you have a little bit more. But in games like this, I saw Greg's record. And again, it's a stat, but he's like 500 against teams that are outside of Concacaf. And not all of those are great opponents. So I want to leave the Brazil match feeling like, okay, we made some adjustments.
Big Tones just wants some
hope.
hope.
That kills you, Jim. It's the hope that kills you, man.
I think what's interesting, and to add a little bit to what you're saying, is when I watched the game yesterday, it felt like, and obviously it didn't help that we gave up 2 goals in the first 20 minutes, but our response wasn't great after that. And even though we had some moments at halftime, there were some adjustments, we score. So I almost want to revisit that first 20 minutes of the second half to get maybe a different feeling about some of the decisions we were making. But ultimately, Chuck, it felt like we were more reactive than anticipatory. And when I compare to what Colombia was doing, they seemed like, okay, we're going to pick our spots as to when we're going to press, when we're going to go. And then the Americans just, if we end up coughing up bad passes.
Oh my God, Jimmy.
Like
coughing up bad passes, the bad decisions. Look, I mean, it could be as simple as Johnny Cardoso dribbling with the ball slow as hell so that he gets picked off. You think you have that much time in an international fixture against one of the strongest opponents in the world in Colombia?
Okay.
That you can take the time and slow and gets picked off goal. You know, look at each goal. It was like a massive turnover in the wrong part of the field or a bad decision. Timothy Weah trying to dribble out of the back, gets picked off, goal. So again, we come back to what makes teams successful at the international level. It's not about where you play. It's not about we have all our players playing at the biggest clubs or signed at the biggest clubs or all the best. It has no idea. It's as a team, as a unit, is there an identity? Are they coming with the right intensity, the mentality, the tempo? Do they have a game plan against the Colombia side? Okay, where are they vulnerable? Are we going to press them in certain situations? Are we going to defend? Where's the creativity coming from? Are we going to be effective on set pieces? Just certain triggers throughout the game that we can all see. Hey, they get it. They can look at each other just without speaking. They understand where they're supposed to be, what they want to do, and we're not seeing that. So that's what I'm frustrated at when I'm watching this game.
Sure.
Sitting at home going, man, this is on home soil against Colombia, and you're playing in Maryland, but this has to be better.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the first point about it doesn't matter where you play. That was the biggest thing I took away from my World Cup experience when I was playing. It didn't matter where you played before. It doesn't matter where you're going to play afterwards. Like, are you ready in this moment to show up and play? And yesterday, our guys were not, or not enough of them. Now, speaking about Johnny Cardoso and any of the guys that were on the ball, Timo Weah trying to do too much, I think, in that one particular moment. But it's not always on the ball carrier. It's also how the ball is being supported. I believe that maybe some of these guys would make different decisions if there was a little bit more energy in how we're supporting the ball. I just want to throw that in there because it's not always on the player with the ball. Yes, that player has to take the responsibility. They make the final decision.
Jimmy,
but listen, you understand that if
you're dribbling in the back.
I get that.
I don't care what options you have. You got to be smart in that situation.
I understand that. But what I'm saying is, if we really want to be a team that's trying to possess and play, then those options have to be very clear. And to your point about what Colombia was doing, when I think about, okay, if we can't find, let's say, Gio Reyna in a particular pocket of space, then there has to be that quick identification that, okay, they're taking this away from us. How fast can we get to our plan B or plan C? We suck at that. We consistently suck at that, and that pisses me off, that we can't solve problems in real time. Like, okay, cool, I'm seeing this. Hey, guys, without speaking, are you also seeing this, and are we ready to then adapt accordingly? And that gets frustrating. And that's on the coaching staff, that's on the players, and it's just, I'm frustrated, which ultimately sums up how we're all feeling. I'm hot right now.
Wait, before that, Balogun. Where are we with Balogun? How do you feel about Balogun?
We got to get him the ball, dude. When he's on the ball, clearly he can do some stuff. The weight of the pass on the assist to Timo Weah was awesome. But how do we? He actually kind of comes out of his area, which we probably, or whatever zone that the Greg Berhalter, he loves the zones. There's all these zones in coaching. If you guys are unfamiliar with all this, I don't know how many tones in the field, like 80,000 zones. Anyway, if he pulls out of his zone, all of a sudden that's going to ask questions of the Colombian defense that maybe he hadn't asked yet. And then Timo Weah is running from a different starting spot to get himself into a good space.
My point is they don't use him the right way.
Well, that goes without.
They don't use him the right way. You have a player like that. Heavy. He's not, like I said, an Erling Haaland who just sits up there and is not involved in the play. And then when he gets the ball, he's surrounded by two center backs. That's not his game. That's not his game, and that's how we're using him, like he's a target striker.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about it a little bit more after our last break. And call what you want. Oh, go ahead, Tones. Get in. Actually, you know what? No break. Get in here, Tones.
Yeah,
what do you got to say?
Yeah, I'm just, you're the guy to answer this. What is his way of playing? Because how many times have we come out of a game and Greg has said to us in press conferences, we need to find flow more. We need to understand his runs more. And then what's the reverse of that? That Flo needs to find the right runs to fit into the other 10 guys. Mm-hmm. What type of striker is he for you?
He is not a lone striker. he is not a 9 in terms of you need someone who's going to play as a lone striker to have the strength to hold up the ball and basically occupy 2 center backs. He is not that guy. He's not going to win any aerial balls. He's not going to bring down balls with center backs draped all over him. He doesn't have that low center of gravity and strength to hold off these big center backs. That's not his game. And that's when you bring players into the game, if you have that big target or you're creating more space because they occupy 2 center backs. So he needs to play with someone else. He's not a 9 by himself. And when you're playing with isolated wingers, because Timothy Weah is not someone who likes to come in, he likes to use his pace and say, that's wide. Christian is on the left. He comes deep or he'll come inside, but he's not really linked up with the 9. So he's isolated. He's on an island, and that's not his game.
All right, everybody. Now we're going to take our second and last break of Call What You Want. When we come back, we're going to keep talking about the game because we can't help ourselves. Do not go anywhere.
Well, you need your sports news anywhere?
We've got breaking news to bring you.
Then get your sports anytime you want them. Big trade news overnight to discuss.
Because we know you need sports all the time.
A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
A legend adds to their legacy.
We're bringing you that breaking news right here on HQ.
CBS Sports HQ, anywhere, anytime, all the time.
Welcome back. Call What You Want. I'm Jimmy Conrad alongside Charlie Chuckwagon Davies and Tony Meatball Meola. Had to bring in a Meatball. Just kidding, Big Tones. We love you. All right. Well, Big Tones dropped off here. We're going to figure out.
He said I'm out. He said,
he didn't like the nickname. He said he's out, but he's having some Wi-Fi issues there in Cary, North Carolina. So, Chuck, before we get back into the game and how we're feeling about the team, can we just talk that Concacaf's just having a tough time right now? The host of the 2026 World Cup having a bit of a tough time because not only did we get smacked 5-1, Mexico lost to Uruguay 4-0, then just lost to Brazil 3-2, and then Canada and Jesse Marsh, our very own Jesse Marsh, call it what you want to Jesse Marsh, lost to the Netherlands 0-0 at half, but ended up losing 4-0. They got France coming up next. So not a good look right now for the hosts of the 2026 World Cup, Chuck.
No, not at all. I could just seeing how Mexico was bullied, although in this Brazil game, they gave a little bit of hope. But again, this is against a Brazil team that had gone up 2-0, kind of settled. Then they made it 2-2. And then, Brazil said, you know what? Actually, we're going to
turn it back up again.
We're going to bring in Vinicius Jr. We're going to bring in Paqueta, and then we're going to bring in Endrick. And so you could see the difference in the way that the Mexicans and the Brazilians played. And Mexico is not a good team. When it comes down to it, they don't have enough strong individuals, and they're just not a good team. And then Canada, they got completely
they just look tired.
Yeah, they just got completely outplayed. I mean, Alphonso Davies, their best player, had one of the worst performances I've seen him in a Canadian shirt. So it's difficult for CONCACAF, which also comes back to the U.S. and the whole is we can beat these teams who might be strong in our region, but if you're comparing them to Argentina and France and Portugal and Germany, it's just not even close.
Yeah, it's interesting times. Again, I'm very, very curious to see how we are going to respond against Brazil on Wednesday, because we need a response. And from what I understand, they started a B squad against Mexico, but they're looking to start an A squad in Orlando against us. So good. Listen, we're going to...
All right, given that, what are your expectations? What are your expectations now?
Well, I want to see us play on the front foot a little bit and just be thoughtful about when we don't have the ball, where are we trying to win it? Where are we forcing the game so that we can have the numerical advantage, or at least have an even number, so that when we win it, we are in a better position to transition with a little bit more purpose. So I know I'm getting kind of soccer nerd here, but I want to see how we're moving in that. And then taking what the game gives us, Chuck, sometimes, and Tony, sometimes we could always just try to force it into these same zones and areas where they're clearly taking that away. Can we adapt and make those decisions quickly? And that's going to be a big challenge for us, not only in this game, but just throughout this Copa America tournament. Big Tones, where are you?
Yeah, I just want to see us be a little bit more fluid. Like I said earlier, I feel like the ball goes here, so we have to run here. Like, we don't make, you went on about adjustments. I'm with you. We don't make those adjustments.
Are we scared? Are we tired? Are we being conservative? Are we – I don't know. I mean, at this point, we're playing Brazil. I mean, whatever other idea that we have that you may have been holding on to for a little while, because I'm with you, Jimmy. I never really see a plan B. It's always let's just keep beating plan A on the head and see if it works for this match. Let's try it, man. Like, do we have anything to lose? Really? You're playing Brazil. Does anyone – they might win, right? They might win. Who knows? But is anyone sitting here going, okay, we're going to dominate Brazil? So would you have a problem? Would either of you have a problem if Greg said, okay, we're going to sit in a low block tonight. We're going to become a counterattacking team?
I would say go for it. Just
try it.
Right. What we did against Spain. All right. Josie and Charlie, you guys run like hell and just make it annoying for Xabi and Xabi Alonso, right? Xabi and make the center backs try and make the game. Okay. And then in the counter, you guys do what you do. Landon, Clint, Josie, Charlie, it's almost like the four of you guys just go. And we were effective as hell. It worked. And then against the lower teams in Concacaf, we played our game. We were on the front foot. Now we were dictating possession. We were being creative. We were trying things. And you can't play the same way against every team. That it just won't work. You just can't do it. You got to change depending on who you're playing and look at some of the weak spots. I thought if you're
not at the national team level,
if you're talking about coaching, that's why I think Bob Bradley was very good with our group, because we always had a game plan. There was always a tactical game plan, and we could make adjustments. He made good adjustments in the game, given what was asked. And you know, you were there, Tony, with the 2002 World Cup against Portugal. You know, Portugal was like one of the best teams in the world. But it was the way that you guys came in, the right mentality, and it wasn't that you dictated the tempo or the possession, but you were very effective in the way that you guys played.
Yeah, we got a preview pod tomorrow, just so everybody knows. I know that we want to tiptoe into this preview about with regard to Brazil, but we're going to have another podcast for you. Call it what you want, coming back at you tomorrow. We'll break down this game in full. So let's go back, Tones, and get into this game in particular. And I guess one of the stats that I wanted to find out, because I do think it does inform us in some capacity, were there any connected passes between Christian Pulisic and Flo Balogun? I'm curious about that. That's a stat that I'd want to know. And why can't we figure that out a little bit more? Why aren't they looking for each other a little bit more? Or is it by design? And then Gio Reyna, when he's on the ball, obviously he can make that final pass. How, and I know we saw him, much to Jesse Marsh's chagrin in the Nations League final, dropping super deep to get the ball. But it's better than him not touching the ball at all when you kind of see a game where he doesn't have as much influence. And then Weston McKennie I actually thought was pretty quiet. And Timo Weah outside of the goal gave the ball up, I thought, quite a bit. And just got caught. They just trapped him. He'd put his head down. The first defender would slow him down, and the second one would come and try to win it. And it was just a frustrating. I just didn't feel like we could find any type of rhythm that we discussed, but also from these individual players, I don't feel like they put their stamp on the game. But yeah, any thoughts on any of those guys?
Yeah, a couple of them. I think for me, rhythm in games, when I watch games that are flowing, the midfield is involved. The midfield is always involved in touching the ball. The midfielders are involved in connecting with other midfielders in order to allow players to get forward. You buy yourself some time. Johnny was, if I found one person that I saw good moments from, like good reactions, it was Johnny for me in the game. Your first one, I think your question started with Christian to Flo up top. If we're going to be successful, you would think that those two guys have to have connection in the game. Whether it's one's running off each other, and even though it wasn't a pass from one to the other, it was someone that created space for the other guy. Like there's no connection there right now.
Playing 1-2s off of each other.
Whatever it is. Yeah, whatever. You would think of those two, right, Charlie? You as a forward, you can't be successful on your own, getting a ball, spinning a player all the time. It just doesn't work, right, at this level. You have to have some connection, whether you play with two forwards and the connection is you run here, I run behind you, you check in, I find the space, whatever it is. And even though it might not be a pass from the two of you, you're playing off of each other. And I think Christian and Flo need to do that a little bit more. I'm with you. People got on me because I said a couple days ago, Tim Weah needs to be more involved in actions. And of course, he scores a goal and everyone says, see, the guy doesn't know what he's talking about. I just don't think he's that involved in games. He looks good, gets the ball, he runs at players. But in the end, yeah, it was a great goal. That's what we need more of him. And if it doesn't result in a goal, it results in the pass that leads to a goal or leads to opening up the play. But yeah, look, I'm struggling to find positives in this thing, Jimmy, to your question, and find even I hate talking about moments because when you just talk about moments, it means you didn't play well. It means that here I'll leave you. Last one on this part of it. When I call a game, I always say, I just want to know what the team is trying to do when I'm calling a game. That doesn't mean you're going to win or you're going to lose. I just want to. I want to feel when I'm calling that game that I know what Team A is trying to do and I know what Team B is trying to do. And then normally the team that executes their plan better, and I say normally because freaky things happen, that's the team that wins. Explain to me, if you can, what the U.S. was trying to do. Forget the result. What was the plan yesterday?
That was my point. It felt like they were just going down the left to Anthony Robinson or Christian Pulisic, and it would try and be the same exact damn cross every single time. And like you, Tony, if I'm calling a game, I go, are they doing enough going forward? What are the ideas? What's the movement like? Is it the same movement? Because it was the same movement every time. Are they closing space down quick enough? What's that intensity like to close down a ball? And if you don't win it, you smack them, you foul them, right? To slow the game down and don't let them think that they're dictating the game and they're confident on the ball. Are we finding tactical advantages? Is Gio Reyna finding freedom in the attacking third to pop his head up, run at the back line, suck the defenders at him, and then find Christian or find Balogun, like we saw in the Nations League final in Vegas when they absolutely dismantled Mexico and then they dismantled Canada. We weren't seeing anything from that. From that moment, we thought, okay, there's some connections. That was the best I'd ever seen the U.S. play in that Nations League. Not this past one in Dallas, the one before that in Vegas. That was the best I'd ever seen when BJ Callahan was on the sidelines. We have not seen anything evolve from that. They have not improved from that. And I get it's Colombia, it's not Mexico, and it's not Canada. I get that. But you would still see more instances throughout the match where we're threatening, where there's diagonals, where we're switching the point of attack, where we're not just overlapping every time. We are playing 1-2s. Christian is working out an advantage with Balogun, and they're going wide to suck the Colombians to one side, and then they're finding way on the opposite side. Or Weston McKennie's getting more involved, making late runs out of midfield. But it's too slow. It's too pragmatic. And Tony, like you said, it's like this is how we're playing every single time when we get on the ball. And this is the way it has to be every time we get on the ball. It's not, okay, let's try something new. I'm going to be, one of those players who takes the game and makes the game because I feel that this is what the game needs to be.
Okay, so I want to give a shout out to Ivis, one of our producers, who said only 2 passes in the first 45 minutes between Christian Pulisic and Flo Balogun. Pulisic got subbed at halftime. They're managing his minutes after what was reported as Greg saying a long season at Milan, and they want to make sure they bring him along accordingly. No problem with that. Now, Balogun, McKennie, and Timo Weah had the fewest first half touches for the U.S. men's national team. And to your point, Chuck, when you talk about, and you as well, Tony, when our attack felt somewhat predictable, get the ball somehow, if we can get Christian isolated 1v1, great. If he can get it, and then we can have Anthony overlapping him to create a numerical advantage, even better. But it didn't really seem like we were trying to do the same on the right side. Or if Timo did
zero. And if Scally got it, it was going backwards.
That's it. Then let's talk Scally then, because we haven't talked about
every
Joe Scally.
pass
This
is
our
negative.
last topic. Joe Scally. I feel like our balance is off if we're going to be heavily dependent on Anthony Robinson being our only outlet to kind of get out of the back. And Scally, who had a big assignment with Lucho Diaz, it's not an easy guy to mark and to pay attention to. So I want to give him some grace there because his job probably was just to slow him down and not get forward. But he did not provide anything.
So do you think
forward.
Serginho Dest, if Serginho Dest was playing right back, he would also step back? No.
He wouldn't have. No. Well, then he would have forced Lucho Diaz to defend.
But think about the team balance. You're taking out one of your most attacking players, who's your right back, and one who likes to dwell on the ball and be creative. You're replacing him with a player who's defensive-minded, who gets on the ball and plays backwards.
Well, what is he going to do against Brazil?
I'll say most games. Any international game. I've seen him play. He's mostly playing backwards or sideways.
That's fair.
He's not going forward. He's certainly, sure as hell, not taking anybody one-on-one. You can best believe that. So you're going to replace that player with a Joe Scally instead of a Timothy Weah, who plays right wing back. He's played right back. He's played left back for a whole season in Liga in France with Lille before transitioning to Juve as a right wing back. And you would have that attacking option. You'd have someone who's not afraid to go one-on-one, who's comfortable with the ball at his feet. So that already throws off the balance of the team. And you're forced in their mind that you have to go only down the left because your right back's not willing to attack anyways.
Right. So I don't know. It just speaks to, and Tony was using his fingers, the 3-5-2. It sets up for us to do that, Tones, right? You just take Scally out and you just give this a rock with 3 center backs and let's see what happens. It actually gives Timo Weah maybe, or whoever plays out there, because you can put Weston out there too, a little bit more space to operate and maybe have a little bit more control over where they're receiving the ball. Because it felt like Timo Weah in particular in the first half, where he just was kind of pinned up high. And when he would get it, he'd have somebody right up his back the whole time. He couldn't really turn and run at anybody. And I could feel his frustration. And I felt for him a little bit.
Yeah, there's no doubt. But when you're a winger, don't you expect someone up your backside all the time and be connected to somebody? Sure. With Joe Scally, I didn't think Joe Scally was poor defensively. But I'm with you, Charlie. There's nothing in the attack, and maybe yesterday because of the matchup on the left-hand side or on the U.S.'s right-hand side, you're like, okay, I have to sacrifice a little bit here because Diaz is the player that he is, right? So maybe I sacrifice some attacking on the right-hand side for getting down the left-hand side where we think we can exploit them. If that were the case, I'd actually feel more comfortable that was part of the game plan. But going forward, I don't think Joe Scally's going to give you the same dimension that Serginho Dest is going to give you. I just, when I watch him play, I don't get that same type of feeling out of Joe Scally. But
yeah, but that's defending is fine. Just like in Nations League when he had to replace Dest because he had a red card, he had Alphonso Davies, and he did a great job defending. But you're not going to get anything in the attacking phase of the game from him.
It makes us even more predictable.
Which is my point. So I know I see Erling Haaland in the chat. He's trying his best to trigger me. I'm not going to be triggered by what you got to say. But I love the chat because these guys.
Yeah, they're passionate. They care.
Yeah,
I love it too.
Everyone's going in. But what I'm saying is we need to have the ability to play freely and not the same patterns and not the same attacking space every time. Because as much as you are scared of Luis Diaz when he's coming down that side, you can also take advantage of him not defending on that side.
Yeah, you got to make him work.
And we didn't make him work.
Yeah. All right, so let's finish this. Any silver linings from this? I mean, for me, as I kind of had a bit of an optimistic take on my tweet, just that I'm glad that this happened now as opposed to during the tournament where it can get quite calamitous. And Tony and I know just from TST alone, you lose a game and the sky's falling, especially in the group stages. Thankfully, Tony figured it out and his team got to the quarterfinals. But there are definitely some learnings to take away from this. Now, ultimately, though, we got to see some reactions, and that is where we're going to find out for sure how much there were or what the silver lining was. in this, or silver linings were in this particular match. But that would be my big takeaway. I'm glad we got punched in the face in a friendly as opposed to the tournament itself.
Yeah, I'm always glad to get punched in the face.
Well, wait, listen, that's an important punch in the face. I know that I said that, and then everybody's like, we've had so many instances of getting punched in the face. I didn't want Greg Berhalter in for the second cycle, so get off my back, everybody. All right? I get it.
Everybody in the chat's like, you're scared to say, sack Greg. Sack Greg.
I said don't rehire him from the very beginning. I'll die on that hill. The fact I don't need to say it after every single game. That's what everybody wants. That we need to put pressure. We've been saying it from the dude. I didn't want to get into. I'm getting.
And that's what Jesse Marsh was saying, right? The whole time. We don't put pressure in the media on our team, on the coaches, on the players.
They're not going to fire the guy before the tournament, right? So I'm also being realistic about this. So you let him play the tournament. I think you get rid of him now that you rehired him, which I didn't want in the first place. Okay,
you guys all triggered Jimmy.
I'm triggered. I'm triggered. I think no matter, honestly, whatever happens in the Copa America, we've hit our ceiling with Greg. I mean, we'd have to win it for me to want to keep him, or like make this miraculous, awesome run where we're playing so ridiculous, which we've not seen any evidence of. So I don't expect it to happen for him to stay. And then I think you bring in somebody new. Who that is, that's a conversation for another podcast. But that's my silver linings. We got punched in the face. I don't like it either, but it's going to force our players to answer some questions that maybe they need answered. And hopefully that'll help us get sharp against Brazil and then the Copa America. Big Tones, any silver linings for you?
Yeah, look, hopefully you learn that against teams of this quality, you can't come out and play. I didn't realize we had a chat. We're doing this for an hour. I didn't realize we had a chat until like 3 minutes ago. And
it's wild in there, Tony.
But here, here's what I'm going to leave you with. One of them said, we have to realize this isn't a team of superstars or something like that, and we can't win with this group. Who were the superstars in 1994? Who were the superstars in 2002? Who were the superstars for the national team over the last 20 years?
Final.
Right.
Yeah, there were no superstars. You can still win against these teams. You have to be better tactically. Listen, Greg needs to be better. And I said at the opening of the show that I never thought leading into this that Copa America would be important for Greg's job. I now believe, based on the way this team is playing, that Copa America is vitally important if Greg Berhalter wants to keep the job.
Agreed.
Period. They have to be better. You can't go to Copa America. You're going to play one of these two teams, Charlie. You're going to play in the next round if you get through. If you get through. If you don't get through, I think the decision is really easy.
We don't even have to have this conversation. If we don't get out of the group, forget it. Forget it. And if, let's say we play in the group stage, Tony, and Uruguay beats us 4-0, and then we somehow like sneak through to the next round and get smacked again, 3-0, 4-0, even 2-0, but completely dominated, then the writing's on the wall. We don't even have to have this conversation.
I'm with you, man. This tournament for Greg Berhalter is vitally important. Jimmy, my silver lining is we maybe now understand that we can't come out with this type of intensity against teams like this. It just doesn't work.
All right, Chuck, how about you? Silver lining, because this team is starting to look like they're getting a little soft, and what those other teams had were some balls, right? They had a little something to them that even in doing some adversity, how they responded to mistakes or performances or anything in game, they were going to at least fight and have kind of that punch. And I don't think we saw any of that yesterday, and that makes me a little concerned.
Well, first off, this chat has been the most vibrant and electric that we've had in
Shout
a
out
long
to the
time.
chat. Got me triggered.
It kind of reminds me of back in the World Cup group stages when we had these post-match reactions, and the group chat was going crazy. So I will say respect to everybody watching and listening and typing in their insight. But what I'll say is, you lose 5-1, you're humiliated, you're embarrassed. There's only one way to go up, because it doesn't get worse than that, given the quality of this group. This is the worst that we've seen them play, and they got embarrassed. And it's not even the scoreline, which clearly reflects that. It's more about the intensity, the willpower. If you're down even 3-1-4, where's the guys coming in and be like, that's enough? I'll take a red. not this, but it's like, I'm going to show like, I'm not happy about this. And then that's when you go, do we really need Tyler Adams on the pitch every time to be the guy to hold people accountable on the pitch?
Yes.
It's like, that's
what it seems like.
Tyler Adams shouldn't be the only player to do that, to be that guy. So now come against Brazil, which is going to be in a lot of cases a much more difficult opponent. What is that reaction like? And again, this is for Greg. In-game management, substitutions. Are you subbing the right players? Are you changing the system or the identity, the tactics in the game? That's where we got to see a lot of improvement. So this is a game, again, it's a friendly, but to Tony's point, give us hope. This is why U.S. Soccer hired a Matt Crocker, because there are no connections. He can be very objective when looking at this and say, you know what? This isn't what I thought it was going to be. This isn't the team that's going to give America hope that we can go the furthest we've ever gone on a World Cup on home soil. So it's the time is ticking, and now is the time. Time's up.
Guess what?
Game in the group stage.
Well, guess what, Chuck? We have another podcast for everybody tomorrow. Call It What You Want's coming back with our preview. We're going to get into the weeds a little bit more in our game against Brazil on Wednesday. We thank you for your support as always. We appreciate all of the passion, especially in the chat that you guys have. Make sure you hit us up on Twitter. Follow us. Call It What You Want on any of the podcast platforms where you'd like to get your podcast. Leave us a rating, 5-star review. We'd appreciate all that. Hit like and subscribe. Do all the good stuff. And I need to go for a walk. I'm just going to go just get some air. I think I need some air. So thank you for listening and watching as always. And we'll see you tomorrow for our preview against Brazil. See you soon. Later.
Spicy.